sticker. Hi, Nick Tucker here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Well, folks, we got a whole lot to talk about real quick. I'm ropping a few different devices. Glad to see you, Glenn. Glad to see you, Foxy. Let's pay some bills first off. The Historical Fencing Guild is brought to you by sales of The Simple Sword and The Fighting Axe. These two books are written by yours truly, Nick Tucker, freelance swordmaster, artist, author, and retired paranormal researcher. The Simple Sword is the easiest, clearest, most concise way to get into learning how to sword fight. It is priced at a low, easy to get into, plain simple English. And to folks, yes, it does have stick figures. In the series with that, I have included the Fighting Axe, focusing on hand axes because they are requested. When my Patreon members, which I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but you all love it, ask me for something, I make it happen. So the Fighting Axe is an incredibly inexpensive way to learn your way around an axe. Please look it up. We are also supported by Hybrids, the Sons of Gods. Luke Stone's wonderful comic has become an RPG, and the quick play is still available if you know where to ask, folks. Look this up. Follow LukeStoneStudios.com for more information, and buy yourself a copy of Hybrids, the Sons of God, the role-playing game. I am still working on the full version, and as soon as we can get Luke out of the ICU, we will be able to get that going. So it's just a matter of prayers for now and better stuff for you later. Now, wow, folks, has it been a week? Now, I've been on a few more shows than usual, so I'm a little bit punchy, a little bit bingy, and I'm just so appreciative because I do this and I'm made possible by the amazing Patreon members, several of which are already in chat and more are coming in because you guys know what to expect on a Friday night. I'm here to answer any of your questions. We have some new people who are supposed to be stopping by at some point. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to try not to lose my voice. Woo, do we have a lot to talk about. I'm also going to be trying to double tap just a bit. Actually, I can do that here. That my computer's been pretty good. I have some news. Now, assuming I don't lose you all, the guys, and of course, please, if you like what I'm doing, bare minimum, like, share, and subscribe. I am fighting the dragon that is the YouTube algorithm, and folks, I'm losing, but we can do it. We can get this rolling, hopping, and popping. Thank you, 6 viewers, 5 likes. That's all I can ask for. Almost 6, but I'm not a perfectionist, so we're going to keep right on rolling down the road. Guys, first off, my patrons, guys, I really appreciate it. I've had to spend some patron funds for necessity, the stuff that you guys have made possible, because some big things are coming. Get that dragon prone. That's right, Johnny Cage. Now, before I get going, I have the link, and I am going to attempt to get my beloved computer to let me share it with you for bam, get my notes up. Normally I take care of this ahead of time, but we've had some technical difficulties. You'll note I'm not rocking my normal headset. I'm again on the Xbox backup. I tried to fit the sound just wasn't working right, and I will not give you guys less than the best audio experience. Now, I'm going to throw a link for you guys. Boop, with some information. Copy. I'm putting it right in the chat. As many of you know, and some of you don't, Cindy Kep has been trying to chase down the parry dagger trainer. Whoop, that went. That's the axe. Ah, there it is. Sorry. One of these guys without the, hey, look, it shows up on camera orange. Now, I've actually found a supply. These showed up on Amazon in limited numbers at about 12 something. So for the folks looking for that light, easy to use, for some of us of smaller size, this almost qualifies as a sword. These are on clearance. So I put the link there. I'm not even buying any for myself because I want you guys to have a whack at them. Normally I'd pounce on it, buy a few, and then redistribute them later. But So these guys are out there for the people who have been looking. I chase these things down. I chase deals down for you. Now I'm going to hit the comments for a bit before we get into some of the meatier goodness of your Friday night work. Okay, Glenn says hi. That's Glenn. Glenn is writing the world's most comprehensive book on Arthurian lore, legends, and the root sources of it, sort of the chronology of all things Arthurian. It is one of those lifetime projects. You guys should really keep an eye on this man. It's going to be important. Uh, hello, Foxy. You know I love you, Foxy, and you know I love Thesis wherever he is. Up there he is. Greetings, Thesis. And we got Johnny Cage, which is nice. Johnny, you will be causing trouble. Hi, Flying Feline. Good to see you there. And hey, Michaela Jade, this is great. 16 books. Well, you know, we're all going to work towards that. Now, we got to talk because I spent some money. Not much, but I found something. And I want to talk about why I bought this. Now, what this handy dandy little device allegedly is, and I will test it, folks. Longtime viewers know that as restrictions let up and the situation was, I have a lot of sparring videos, which means getting somebody to run the camera while I'm doing everything and trying to track the fight. We've had some of our camera operators, folks, have been better than others, but that's okay. What this device here allegedly is a device that will let me use my phone, which is where I normally run my camera, my filming through, and automatically track the motion. This would mean instead of helping the person behind the camera pans or that I have the right angle, we should be able to film fighting videos where we're sparring and you guys can watch and track it without losing people to the edges. That is my hope. So I'm really, really excited about that. Uh, Glenn is talking about his situation. If you're watching this now or later, you really want the chat running, or else I look schizophrenic. Mm. I spent a lot of time in Lafayette this week, folks. Actually today, so my throat's a little hoarse. There's some my voice is a little hoarse. My throat's a little rough. There's some stuff down there that does not agree with everybody's favorite swordmaster. Yeah, I think it really will be. And I'm always trying to, while my budget is very minimal, but appreciated because it's made possible by viewers like you, I I'm always looking for ways that I can expand what I can do for you. Now, due to some personal stuff, I have to empty a storage unit kind of scenario. Um, I'm going to be turning large portions of my house into a warehouse for a while I sort through the delayed boxes and such. But that means I'm going to have access to my stuff, and as winter persuades, things should get better. And I want to get into some more crafting videos. People have been asking me, Nick, show us how to make boffers. Show us how to make basic armor so that we can go. You know, that's my goal. I mean, no, really, really, Foxy, I appreciate that. The NPR of the fencing world, because I'm really trying, like, I talk to my patrons. And one thing the non-patrons don't know is I ask my patrons all the time, do you want me to be able to share this, or is this something you want to keep as an exclusive? And every time they're like, no, put it out there. That's what you're about. They know I'm about making free educational content and low cost. That's why I keep my books as cheap as the Zon will let me keep them. Uh, and still make a marginal profit. Uh, so that you guys don't have to go out there. I know there are sword fighting books and manuals that are in the hundreds. I know there are video series that are $70 a disc. And I'll get to that. I want to read Thesis's comment. It looks good. And that's some of it's great content. And while it is worth it, I don't want you guys ever thinking that I think my service here isn't worth money. I think the service is more important than the profit lust, you know? And I follow what I call the IRO clause. if you can't find an Uncle Iroh in your life, you're obligated to become the Uncle Iroh in your circle. I don't make these rules, they just seem to happen. So, that's what I'm trying to do. Build people up, build the means up, and help them get rolling. So I'm very excited. Well, thank you. We got some comments I want to hit. Thesis said I filmed a video once on building and repairing a boffer for my channel, but I ended up not posting it because I did not like a lot about it. Okay, there is something for the Historical Fencing Guild. I'm for the Historical Fencing Guild. Sorry, I'm so used to plugging myself. I have to switch gears. One moment. Wet whistle there. Wet whistle. Um, the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, of which I'm a proud member. I'll be honest, there are more shows after me. I know Stupid O'Clock hits on Saturday nights, and they're a wonderful group. You also might see me popping through depending on, you know, how social I am feeling and how my domestic situation is working. But no video will ever be perfect. And I know several people who are really talented at different things. Stef Mari, one of my Patreon members and a dear friend, is a talented musician and a music instructor. I've encouraged her many times to make a video. We used to be frequented by someone by the name of Ren Contessa. She actually set up a channel and then never posted, which I think is tragic. Because if you know something, like in her case, she was very versed on Ren Fair etiquette and things like that. She should do it. Um, you guys have seen Steve. Steve is a world class chef, and I'm not being facetious. Uh, he's an incredible martial artist, and he knows a lot of varied things. I'd love to see him set up his own channel. If not, maybe I can arrange to have shows on this, my channel, just to get what he knows out there. John Miner is another one who knows a whole lot, but it's very scary, guys, to take that step and put it out there because it may never feel perfect. And part of it is that is the curse of an artist because any artist is a little more experienced by the time they're done with a picture than when they were before the picture. So, what they have to do, what you have to do is embrace your imperfection and realize doing is the only way to learn. Oh, no. Well, we go to school and they tell us, and no, no, no. You can ingest facts and regurgitate facts, but that's not learning. You got to get your hands messy. You got to get up there and make mistakes. Don't be afraid. I've known some people, well, I'm going to spar and they're going to hit me with a sword. Yeah. Yeah, they will. And here's the thing if everybody studied their calibration, it won't hurt. If they haven't, you engage it. But it's more important to get past that wall. We walk around with chains of fear holding us back from making these big leaps. And we stare across the void. It happens to me all the time. This is not easy for me. I've had to learn to be extroverted because that's the only way to fight the good fight. And if I want to help people and I am, medically and geographically and economically isolated, I have to find another way to put myself out there. Hi, Cindy Kep. CKOEPP.com. Cindy Kep's an amazing author, artist. She's going to be a media mogul. You watch, Cindy Kep's going to be a major player in this world. She doesn't believe a bit of it, and that's okay because I find her humility endearing. Now, I also want to put a reminder because I got a message that somebody was afraid to interrupt me about a sword question on my show. Guys, friends, colleagues, viewers, are you not? Have you, I am meant to be derailed. The best content comes when I'm bouncing around, answering questions, talking things, and I will make a promise, guys. I will make a promise to you that puts me out from every other YouTuber. If I don't know something, I'm going to look at you and I'm going to say, you know what? I don't know, but I'll look into it. And when I say that, folks, I look into it. And that's what we need to do. We need to be willing to go out there and do that. And that's what I'm doing. So this fall, I'm hoping possibly to have another practice. Oh, my voice is just cutting in and out. But you know, Thesis makes a good point. He says, other than Foxy, I haven't had much chance to spar with anyone because most of the people I know in my area are from the old Boffer group, and they are not good people. Um, I am intimately acquainted with that, and to an extent, I'm going through that in that I'm still in flux after a couple of years of finally getting my first house. Mine. This is my fabric dungeon of doom. But and trying to get settled and find a niche and finding new people and keeping in contact with the amazing people that have helped me get where I am and that are part of what I do. And yes, I'm shouting at you, Trelena Bachman, and I'm shouting at you, Joe Bachman, and Stef Mari, and Steve, who is somewhere doing something that is not his first rodeo. Uh, I've come to believe that Nick Fury may or may not be a man of, you know, rather squat build and fixation, but that's okay too. To do what we do, we got to keep our perspectives up. Now, I mentioned that training thing, and I really want you guys to keep an eye out. If you're planning to buy trainers and not make your own, we're getting on a time where it may be a good time to get your gear if you're buying, especially from overseas. That's the Wu Jiao trainers. Let me see. Do I have any of them within reach? Yeah, the folks who made the Wakizashis and the Tantos over here. Uh, Oh, I am so glad, Cindy. I was hoping it would be something light enough and could help. And if it's help a good widget, awesome, because that's all about training. But if you're looking to buy things, it might be a good time. There's a lot of stuff in the geopolitical world that's going on that can affect the price of things. Prices are going up. I'll expect electronics, sword stuff, a lot of what we do to go up. So now's a good time to kind of get get what you need in the can stored aside because not to borrow a cliche from a television program that fizzled dramatically in the last season, so I hear, winter is coming, folks. And this is why it's a good time to start. Yes, exactly, Steve. We're joined by Steve. Shipping delays. And let's talk about that a bit. I've been really pushing Purple Heart Armory for a while. Part of it is because I push an American-based company, and part of it is because with Brexit, the shipping out of the UK has gone insane. There's tariffs, there's taxes, there's new stuff. It's really hard on the UK producers, but that's coming down to the consumer. And I don't want you guys to have to spend more money than you have to spend. While that's going on, if you haven't been following the China situation right now, there's a lot of saber rattling. There's a lot of issues between China and Australia and a few other things that really isn't being covered maybe as much in the news as I think it should. So look into that and prepare. That's why it's not a bad time if you're eyeballing electronics to make sure you have something that will get you through a few years. The USPS was defunded and it was sabotaged, and I'm hoping they will get around to repairing it. So, and I'm glad to hear that uh UPS, what can Brown do for you works. I get a lot of shipments from them through them. I get a lot through the FedEx guys, and they're always courteous. So, but I will always say support the United States Postal Service because it's one of the best things historically our nation has done, and I'm proud of it, and we need to bring it back. Because again, I'm geared about helping people, and that was for a long time the cheapest way to do stuff, and I think it can be again. Oh, you're fine. I was running a couple minutes late because I was trying to get my other headset to work. Guys, I don't expect you to hop in on time every time. You have lives in a Friday night uh slot from 8 to 10. That's a busy slot in a lot of people's lives. I do want to see the pictures and hear about the swords you've developed, DM. I haven't found the right nickname for you that feels like it sticks in my mind. But another one of my great Patreon, and I love you guys. I really do. So, what are we talking about? I'm I'm gonna need some stuff from you guys. Okay, viewers, especially my Patreon members. Um, I'm going to be making some soft trainers. All right. Now I have one or two in mind expressly, obviously, and there have been discussions about something like the Hello Karambit because a couple people are really in love with the Hello Karambit. And thanks to Cindy Kep's wonderful generosity, I have enough duct tape to make some really nice, very simple soft trainers. So I need to know, what do you think you'd like to see me make? Is it something you want me to record or just kind of throw up as we're going to talk about it? And I had some time last night, so I made a trainer version of this. We need to know. Saber, okay. Now, a boffer saber is interesting because for that we're and you'll know I went right to boffer. Uh, For a lengthier weapon, about longer than a 2 feet in all, you really need to have a core of some sort. Usually PVC, maybe fiberglass. I've done some moderate what do you call it? Plastidip. And I can really suggest some stuff on that. I picked up a lot. I did a commission for a dear, dear friend of mine from way back in the day, a lovely woman by the name of Johanna Larson. And I learned from her how to, I made for her a shield and a sword for a cosplay that she did. And the process of it was very educational. If I get back into doing plastidip, it's better that I start that as a spring to summer project because chasing, the fear of the chemicals can be shady. So you want excellent ventilation, and freezing runs problematic against things like the wood weld. So we can do that. But making simple buffers is super, it's actually fairly easy. It's fairly simple to do, and it doesn't have to be expensive if you're willing to use the right material. Now, I these are better for light to moderate. You don't really want to gig too hard because it can be destructive, but it does also allow for your your contact can be solid, with the understanding that this type of buffer, with the exception of this particular relic, is relatively disposable. So this is like, for Karambit, this is great because it lets you really get used to putting your force into some of the more aggressive maneuvers. And again, the other thing is, I'm a firm believer that if you're carrying a knife of any sort, you should try to train with it. And obviously, I'll be the first one to say that training with a unsharpened knife, trying with a sharp knife, is dangerous. So you want an unsharpened, reasonable approximation. And, that's why I have things like this lovely sub hilt here, which is really nice for those of us with grip retention problems. It's not my favorite. That still falls on the incredibly stylized FE9 by CRKT. But, okay, so you guys, and you know what? I'm seeing that pattern like a lot. Because let me see here. Get behind the curtain and see if what I'm looking for is actually here. Um, if we're doing buffers with cores, and I know you guys can still hear me, if we're doing buffers with cores, that is a different ballpark than true soft buffers. There it is. That cable's too short, and okay. Ironically, if you're thinking an anthropomorphic type Celtic Bronze Age sword, our buddy Sting makes a wonderful facsimile. This is done by Wu Jiao or Jiao Wu. I flip it. That happens to me. My dyslexia and character-based languages like Chinese or Japanese gets even worse. But this is a beautiful trainer. You can find it on Amazon, usually between 25 and $50. I quite like it. It is a little sharp, so your calibration has to be superb. I may get a second one and round it. The grip is a little more round than I like, so I would prefer it to be flat, but the segmented grip feels a lot like the grip on my K-bar. So for slide retention, it works really well. But making a trainer out of this, I would probably want to do a core. Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, this is a perfect, basically short sword for me. It goes wrist to armpit, so it fits very nice. I can carry it, and ironically, it is one half. The blade geometry fascinates me because I realize if you split this in half, and I need something to make that visual because I can tell I'm thinking a little sideways, but just the bottom half of this would be pretty much the blade design if you kept this curve of the Bola knife Priscilla that I just bought from Shrod. I'm planning to do some live steel tests on that, and the length is very similar. It's a little bit shorter. It's a very hefty cleaving knife. I do believe Foxy would love this. Uh, oh yeah. Well, the the problem is I associate with a lot of orcs, so it's basically just free lighting. Nipsco hates that though. Anyway, this is great, and I want to talk about this is nearly an optimal length for your winter training. Nothing but PVC pipe, and I've done guys, I've done the PVC pipe thing, and it works really well. Many of my boffers that have been around for years and years and years are made out of pool noodle and PVC pipe or pipe insulation, but you really want to kind of stack that up. So you could go a couple routes with boffer making, and I'll talk about it because if there's one thing I like to do, it's repeat material that's important through the course. So, one of the easiest ways to make a boffer trainer is especially for something relatively short. Okay, so if I want to make it, this is a horrible. This is actually a really bad candidate for that style of boffer because it has narrow protuberances. You want something that's simple and relatively stout with a large hole, if there's any hole. So you have this, right? And what you do is you simply trace this out on some camp pad. Camp pad can still be bought in about a 6 foot plus roll. It's about 2.5 feet wide, something like that. Sometimes a little wider. Of That's funny. I love what's going on with using Sting as a perpetual flashlight. But cut out 2, use an adhesive for real strength. I'm talking wood willed. Run a line of PVC along the seam and then wrap, and you will have a functioning boffer of a basic standard design. Let's see. Now, oh, I have a reveal. I have a reveal, and it's not in here. It's still out in the living room. Oh, guys, I have something I knew I was forgetting something when I was running around today. I got Lee and Foxy's birthday present for me, and it is amazing. Well, go get it. Dead air. I will try to go get it. Let me see. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Back. I'm back. Woo! Hi, guys. Okay. So, sorry about that. Let me just real quick prevent myself from being overly doxxed. I'm doing that. And I don't know if the address on this is from, no. Well, you know what? I'll have you guys contact me with your mailing address a bit later because I don't want to dox anything. So, I got this. 12 meetings set up. Cindy Cap. My father broke. Okay, Cindy Cap is going. I told my friend a pun about sword. He wasn't sharp enough to understand neither. Neither did he understand the point of the conversation. I was looking for sword puns in the joke book, and all I could find were jokes that had dual meanings to them. I second that. My brother owns a business in sword making. He proposed that I invest in his venture, and I must say he's making some good points. I'd never quit. Cindy Kep, you are a goddess among people. So I got this from them, and I've left it in the original package. What this is, and it's currently unassembled, I will assemble it for you, is a wax seal stamp, which I don't have any candles in here, and with the way I'm feeling balanced, I'll have to do something with it later. But it is a custom stamp for, if you've ever seen the old-timey envelopes where they would do a wax seal, they would then put a signet ring or something into it. What these amazing people did for me, and I'm still shocked, is have custom machined, and it had to be machined. And let me put this guy together for you. Look, fine motor skills. My boot logo. So, and it's reversed, but is set up so I can do wax seals of the Historical Fencing Guild, just to seal special missives. This is one of the coolest things I've ever encountered. I can't believe somebody had thought to do this, and you guys are just. I am so deeply touched because this is cool, and I will do some stuff with the hot wax to do it. And isn't it, Steve? I have plans for this, and I love orange handle. I love the just the aesthetic and the bright orange because I'm all about bright orange on this channel. You guys know it. And I just I just adore this thing. So I will be doing something very special with this later. Thank you so much. And guys, that's I've been through a lot, and I don't always talk about it. In fact, I try not to, because the purpose of my channel is to build people up and make you all feel better. It isn't to talk about you can probably get sets on wax candles and spoons on eBay for pretty cheap. Um, my wife actually uses wax burners, so there's always this little puddle of very pretty wax that has lost its smell that will be absolutely perfect to be used in a thrifty manner. I'll show you guys something else. I'm going to show you something because I got this in the mail, and it's from Frog G, and that's the sticker. And this is my dice box. This glows in the dark for the channel. And I have, let me see if I can get these. These are my new DM dice for the Red Valkyrie Presents, and they all glow in the dark. I am a sucker for things that glow in the dark. So, guys, I am just so blessed, and I'm so honored to be appreciated the way I am by you guys. I am not accustomed to it. So thank you so much. And I love that because these are things I get to use to help expand the influence of others. When that means when I send a letter, I can wax seal it and it's going to look beautiful. And I can do other impressive things. And it, I love the idea of tools or devices that help me make things better for other people, which I'm sure sounds silly, but I'm over the moon. And I was so over the moon that God, sometimes when things go really good, it almost doesn't feel real. And I'm waiting for myself to wake up from that. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of where I am right now. And this is just, I've been doing this a long time, and I've never had a group of people really lay in the kind of kindness that the current manifestation of the guild has done, and I am deeply honored. You might, hmm, you might be able to do it with something like heated plastic. You might be able to do it in hot glue and then paint it. So just a pool of hot glue before it sets. Use the use a sigil, a stamp. This is so cool, guys. This is just so cool. And guys, it's good when I stop talking or I get quiet, because that is not my natural condition on this channel. No, I believe in being a beaming force of use. Now, glue might work. Yeah, hot glue might work really well, I would think. I mean, you'd have to practice the timing, but really you can look into it. And I know I'm going to just have to play with the wax seal and get it right before I show you guys, because I want to look good. I've never redone a project multiple times to get it to look right for the channel. But now we're back rolling down the metaphorical pipe. Uh, wow. Talking about that just like shut down my brain for a second. Like you're happy so you can't think. I don't know. We're gonna talk. I want you guys to really start working on your footwork. Okay, not crossing your feet. I want you while you're sparring this week. I mean, you guys are doing your sparring, right? You're doing your drills. Exactly. Um, if you're doing your drills and you're taking care of things, uh, whew, you want to work on your footwork. And now, why am I pushing this? I push two things this time of year while we're talking weapons. I took. Well, yeah, I understand that sparring may not be doable if you're solo, but having a Pell or stabby mannequin might not be a bad thing. Now, see, but Cindy, what you're already doing are very deliberate, advanced crossing your feet. And when you know where your feet are, and this, see, okay, let's rewind. When I'm training somebody new, uh, and yes, see, making a target might not be a bad thing. When I'm training somebody new, I take away a lot of tools. I'm like, don't cross your feet. Um, don't fully extend. You know, try not to use lunges for a long time when you get started. The reason, nice. The reason I say this is that you need to learn and build up. Oh, thank you. Absolutely. So, and as Dark Moon is talking about, and thank you for the kind words. He's talking about being recently diagnosed with PTSD. You're not alone in that, brother. Severe depression and major depressive disorder. This channel has helped me a lot. That's what I'm here for. That's why I always wear the bright clothes. Uh, Plus, you're being geared towards people with traumas, physical and mental. That's what it's about. Um, because that's what gets back. Always build your training from your worst day out, not from your best day in. Now, I have days, I may go weeks where I barely need my cane. And then once the weather hits wrong, or I step wrong, or I do something that, like, I ain't as good as I once was, is in the back of my mind a lot, guys. You know, I'll forget that I should not be doing the thing I'm about to do because the thing I'm about to do needs done and there's no one else to do it. And then I have to pay with the ramifications. So that's why I train, with a cane, without a cane. But and thank you. I'm not ignoring the conversation. I want you guys to be able to have that sort of fluid connection that sometimes comes better without me hopping in and out of it. But that's part of why, if you join the Historical Fencing Guild public group, I ask that you speak English as a primary because, like I said, there is I believe, Arabic band with the initials HFG, and it causes confusion. Um, and other than that, that's why I have, I check for bots, and I try to keep bots from coming onto the group best as possible. That some slip through, but you do what you can. I want you to be able to talk about that. I want you to be able to talk about that here. I want you to be able to talk about that there. Because this is the Historical Fencing Guild, folks. This isn't the Nick Talkert is awesome channel. Although I appreciate the aspect of that, and sometimes it's fun to say, hey, look what I can do. But it's more important that we're all building building each other up. And that's why occasionally I will come down on folks who might get a little too full of themselves or lose sight of the perspective of what this organization is about. That's why I don't have a lot of you're a this rank that or a that rank that. You either can instruct people in the basics, you know what you knew coming in and have demonstrated that capacity, or you're a newbie. That's it. And it works. Good evening. No, good evening, John. And that's the thing. John just says, don't do what I do because my footwork only works for me and hurt. Somebody could hurt. Believe it or not, ironically, I have a very neglected art and stop motion animation channel that should be under the Nicholas Talkert or Nick Talkert as a channel. You look for it on YouTube, and you'll see like my BSR movements. I'm planning this winter, once I get my study arranged where I can do some more elaborate posing, to do some real delightful, cheesy Ray Harryhausen type content. And that once that hits, I'll be plugging that as a way to plug the Big Stompy Robots lines of books and games and silliness that I put out. It's sort of, yeah, it's in my bucket list of I want to put out, this many games. I eventually want to do a video game. I eventually want to do a some kind of animation thing. I have some plans, so I'm really looking forward to it, and we'll see what comes down the line. But that's when it's too cold to do anything with the guild stuff like active too. So that channel does exist. You can find me doing a lot of whiteboard drawing, where I just have over the hand drawing of the whiteboard, and I had to stop that when my neuropathy and carpal tunnel stopped me from being able to draw in a speedy or pain-free manner. And as I'm coming back into it, I'm planning to refire that channel up as long as it doesn't adversely affect this one. So I've always got another iron in the fire, and there's some really cool stuff. Um, I love B grade movies, and I feel I owe the genre of B grade movies something for all the joy that they've given me. So I need to figure out a way to make at least one of that format. So that's coming too. Oh, I realized it's done that top chat. Let me make sure I didn't lose any comments from anybody. Yes, I did lose a few. Hobby Lobby has sealing wax. Okay, it looks good. Okay. So there, like I said, I have more things coming. The other thing that's in the works, aside from me finally, I'm hoping to get into a place where I can just sit down and knock out my book on arms and armor that I'm working on, with the patrons being able to look over my shoulder to keep me honest. Um, I don't know if you know this, but Amazon is offering hardback publishing, and my original John, yeah, you can rank it whatever you like, but if you can't see the strings holding up the UFOs and the zippers on the monsters, I'm probably not that interested. But getting back on the horse, so to speak. Um, Now the master plan has always been for me to do a couple more books in the Simple Sword series, because I want to focus on the spear, I want to focus on the staff, and I'm not sure if those are two separate books. I want to focus on something called the Strong Sword, which will be the more concussive styles. This is where saber may cut in, great sword, things like that. Yes, Lost Skeleton of Cadavra. Uh, and I want to do a sort of omnibus book. Yes, absolutely. Uh, the but I'm thinking that some of these may be put out in hardcover, as they're, like a hard. Would you guys be interested in me putting out a copy of the Simple Sword in hardcover? You know, possibly with expanded new materials. I mean, it has been 5 or 6 years since I published it. I want to serve the community. Now, like I said, I keep my digitals very low. I keep my games very low. I do that. Okay, so I will start work on something along that. Now, it takes me a while to rattle around. Oh, include gaming things, supernatural things, interesting stories, random guests. Now, that would be a different kind of volume. Uh, And see, I've run into that problem too, Cindy, as I've dealt with all this, that hardcovers can be difficult. But it's also, in this case, it's I don't want to say rite of passage, but it feels a little more real to me. I've been doing this all this time. I think I have 8 or 9 publications through Amazon, and I'm the guy who was literally personally printing things off, comb binding them to sell my game books. The original Simple Sword, there are copies out there that are my hand collated, hand comb bound copies floating around in certain people's libraries because that's how I was selling them at Arcticon and a few other places. But but I I I have other book topics and I haven't talked about them much. Um, I have been working on one based on my humble and spotty study of metaphysics and the supernatural. I actually do have a work in progress on that front that I've been dubious to plan to publish because of its content, but I do plan to, I'm going to complete it. I just don't know how I'm going to oh shoot, I think I just saw that at the Dollar Tree. I might have seen Reign of Assassins. I'll have to look around. But anyway, sorry guys. I'm spotty tonight. But yeah, I'm considering doing that, and I am going to be writing a fiction series based on a novel. Well, yeah, novel that I wrote in college. Now, the original format will never likely see the light of day, although John Miner actually has read a variant of that. Unfortunately, the relationships depicted were so badly damaged that I'd have to do that. And yes, but I am burdened with this. I have had supernatural experiences. I will admit that. I can say I'm a retired paranormal researcher. Ooh, ooh, thesis. I might have to look into that then definitely because I love a good kung fu sword fight movie. Uh, but what I'm planning, and I haven't decided what format it's going to be, is a series of fictionalized accounts. Now, the reason for this is in part to protect the names and places of the individuals, and in part to prevent the idiocy that could follow. Basically, if I said there are certain places in this world where if you F around and find out, you will find out, and it could be fatal. If I put out, well, here's the address, don't go there, some idiots would go there or attract the attention of individuals or things or individuals that are also things. So I have to take the stories I have, which are good stories, stretch them out and process them in a way where maybe the lesson of the Fae are like the mafia, don't mess with them, can be expressed without telling you where they may live. So that's the convoluted of my current work in progress, if I were to open up my Google Docs right now, is somewhere around 14, 15 different projects that I have different levels of completion on. I'm also to those of you who know, and some of you do because we've had the great oh god, I'm gonna hear it for that one. Dang it, Johnny. Johnny Cage. Uh I'm doing an ongoing, we're a couple months into it RPG, and I will be publishing a module setting for that is based in the game world I've been running for 30 years. My plan eventually is to do that. Let's see. Well, exactly. Yeah, see, that's the thing, John. If I mention some of the things I know and I let people go, "Ooh," you know, and try to find out details, they'll go be dumb. And then I might feel responsible. You guys don't understand. I'm not quite Peter Parker level of angst, but folks, it's there, so I have to balance it. That's why I don't tell a lot of these stories in my different venues. But it's weird. You look at, once you've studied being a sword master and you've studied different things, tradition gets a hold of you and you learn stuff whether you like it or not. So I have that project, and I do have to do the Dogma one, if anything, despite the people who didn't believe me that I was working on it. So I have a lot of literary stuff in the works. And I know this isn't the sort of stuff you might usually be expecting this week, but we can work around it. Now, Facebook people and especially Patreon members, hit me with the types of weapons you'd like to see. Yes, John. Do I need to tell you shush? Shush, John. John's been dumb places too. Some of the places were dumb because John and mutual associates of us were there and they were doing dumb things. Guys don't do dumb things. I may have to do my annual Halloween's coming up, so we got to talk paranormal defense, i.e., don't be a white person in a horror movie. Now, every time I say that, every time I start talking about don't be the white guy in the horror movie, my beloved friends are like, yeah, that's because we're packing. I ain't checking the. You don't know how many messages I get. Yeah, I'll check the generator with my 12 gauge locked and rocked. Let's ready to go. No, John. No annual purge. No. No. Don't be dumb, or the things that go bump will eat your face. This is what I have to tell people because most people aren't of giant genetics, John. I am the water. Anyhow, so yeah, there are some colorful books coming out. I did recently release my top 3 offhand trainers, and I'm doing that in a format to see how it affects the analytics. Thesis. I love you so much for that statement. Like, ancestors don't do the thing. Spirits don't do the thing. Voices on the wind don't do the thing. Stupid people, I'ma do the thing. Yeah, hobbits. Look. Hi. Okay. If I were any more short round, I'd be saying, Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones. Okay. Now, that being said, no. Because you know what? I get the call. Bling, bling. Hey, Nick. What? My house is trying to eat me. Listen to this. Get out. What should I do? I'd advise getting out. We'll settle it from a position where you're not about to be ingested by the spirits of the undead and or demonic entities. Thank you. Have a nice day. Ping. You know, for a while I had the forwarding number to certain local religious authorities, but don't be a Jar Jar Binks. Exactly. And Halloween is coming out. It's a post 2020 Halloween, guys. Just don't look. I'm gonna break into this a little early, and I'll start laying this down right now. Who you could call not me. One, retired. You know how you end up retired? You get tired so many times you become retired. That's what it means. You've cycled. You've been so tired that you've cycled around back to it, and you become retired. But oh, there it is. Oh, God. You know, huge parts of my more eclectic life have had that first. Just go to my man, the doctor. What does he say when he rolls up? Hi, I'm the doctor. Run for your life. You know. Yeah. See. that's the thing. You can not believe in things, and that's good. It's good. Nothing wrong with not believing in things. But don't go poking them because they might still believe in you. So, that's tactical awareness. Like, guys, okay. Let's talk this. You don't walk up and start a fight with a guy who's twice your size. Right? You just don't. If you see a whole bunch of people wearing the same uniform, right? You don't, now that starts. You don't go up and start stuff. I don't care if it's police, gangbangers, military guerrillas, whatever. When you just tactically aware. Why then do you want to go in the woods and start stuff? First off, let's talk about the woods. Guys, yes, it is the top of the hour. Yes, I normally plug all my books and the Patreon, and I will get to that. But we're going to lay down some logic here in build up for October. If you want to be scared, go to a well-known, certified haunted house, okay? Not one of those fly-by-night things, because they might eat your face. A well-known, certified house. Go on a ghost tour with a professional that is well-known. Good for you. You know what? Come out tomorrow to the Freak Out at the Fowler in Fowler, Indiana. I will actually be down the street at the library running a little booth for a large part of the morning at Fowler, Indiana, and selling whichever books I have on hand, and I'll probably be wandering around checking things out. It is sort of a holiday for me. That being said, I'm not going on a ghost tour of that theater. Thank you very much. Because I am not that kind of researcher. Okay. Let me explain. And I'm not throwing shade at anybody. I love you, Joe Dog, wherever you are. But yes, John. Yes, now you're talking other stories, but here's what I see ghost hunters do. I think there's a ghost. Cool. The smart ones debug it. I'm all about debunking, not debugging. Go, I'm not hacking ghosts. At least not in this book. Anyway, you debunk the situation, and then you record, I want evidence. And the problem is, it's a lot like going, well, we found this island, and it looks like it's full of dinosaurs. I'm going to take my camera and go walking in the woods. Hey, maybe you wander the woods and you just don't happen to catch a dinosaur. Good for you. Or make it better. Make it realistic. Coyotes. I grew up in a rather rural part of Indiana. I'm not going to give details for obvious reasons. But coyote warnings were a thing, and coyote packs were a real problem. You don't go out after dark. I don't got to be faster than the monster, John. I just got to be faster than you. But, and there are people, well, let's see if we can see the coyotes. I don't see any coyotes. Yeah, you go out, you sit in a tree stand, you don't see any coyotes. One, doesn't mean the coyotes didn't see you. Two, doesn't mean you won't get it on the way to the car. And I see a lot of people who go out, mess with stuff, and then leave. It's like, what the heck? Okay, if you're talking to a sentient being, I'm coming to this guy's house. Yeah, I think it's haunted. Let's tick him off. Okay, Jersey Ghost boys, you know who I'm talking about. Hey man, step up. Hey, stepped up. Do you realize how rude you're being? Like, all jokes aside, do you realize how rude you're being? Because, I'm getting, knock once for a yes or twice for no. I'm getting communication. Then communicate or leave them alone. Because, that's their house. If there's an abandoned property, it's haunted. What? Yeah, a whole family of people died out there. It was horrible. that you see the ghosts. It's their house. I wouldn't want a ghost kicking in my front door like, are they living here? So leave the ghosts alone. Because if they mess up your world when you went into their place and stirred stuff, that's self-defense. Don't you get whammied hex. Another thing, let's keep on this topic, technical awareness for the supernatural. Don't mess with practitioners. And I'm not even saying which. All right? I'm not even saying which. And that's the WHICH. Don't you be putting any evil on me. But don't mess with them. You leave it alone. Ooh, dark moon. Dark moon. Brother, don't mess with stuff. I mean, seriously, think of the supernatural like flora or fauna. And yeah, I said flora. They're haunted trees and stuff. I know of at least one tree where you always find empty cars and or dead people. Always. I'm not telling you where it is because duh. But there are things that aren't meant. Now, my job is to keep my viewers, help them get better, feel better, and to do that, I have to keep you alive. So, let's look at Ouija boards. Would you go on the dark web with no information of who you're talking to and start putting out your address, phone number, social security number? No, because you're not that stupid, usually. Why do you open up a Ouija board? Which is anybody there? Here, you have permission. And then they're like, oh, you have permission to occupy me. One of these days, Shane Madej is going to get messed up doing what he does because he's disrespectful. And that's bad juju, folks. Bad juju. I don't play with that. And you shouldn't either. You want to know? You John's putting up references again. John, you better make straight. You don't want trouble with any fluorescent dingoes, man. That being said, don't be dumb. Okay? Don't be rude. People, on the topic of the Fae, people have forgotten. They used to say the good neighbors, the fair folk. And then they'd spit and clutch their wrought iron crosses. They've forgotten the wrought iron, the cross, definitely, but definitely the wrought iron, and they've forgotten the spit. They're just like, oh, they're pretty. Think of the Fae like the mob. If you go through their territory, be respectful. Don't start stuff. Doesn't hurt to pay them, but don't thank them for anything and don't ask them for anything. Nod, smile, and get the heck out of there. Don't even give them your name because they might take it. So, folks, yeah, and I know this is silly and this is off topic and it's not very intellectual, but guys, it overlaps. And if my circles are going to overlap, I'm going to engage them. So, yeah, you don't want to be dumb. Now, getting back to sword fights and fencing and what we're really about. See, you don't go into somebody's house and start tying up with hauntings. Now, if it's your house and you have a problem, it's your house. That's how threshold works. You need to get the stuff out. And if you can't, you get them evicted by professionals. Okay? Professionals. Oh, you've got nothing to be sorry about. A lot of people have made mistakes. Everybody has feet of clay where they've done something stupid. Trust me. I I won't tell the story here, but I have done stupid in my time, okay? Let's just put it this way. My hair started going gray at 15 for a reason, folks. And that being said, sorry, this knife can get under the brace and scratch real well. There's lots of random here tonight, and that's okay. But it's best to just not mess with it. The high strangeness gets a hold of us sometimes, and you just have to work your way through it. But don't go looking for it because you'll find it. If you look for trouble, you'll find trouble. So that's why I teach. Look, as a fencer, I teach defensive fencing. Okay, defensive fencing. I'm like, don't go jumping in their shorts until you know what you're jumping into, because they're always going to be a bigger, badder, faster person. I'm not sure what that. John, you shared something. I got confused, but that last sentence either got typoed. I don't know what you mean. But so, getting back to practicality, loosen up and start making sure you have short weapon drills, because you're more likely to drill in the house in winter. Me, I love fighting in winter because that means I can pad up. We can get the big stuff out, and I'm not being sweat. And that's exactly. You can't. I tell people, don't fight mad. If you are mad, don't get on the field. If you're emotionally compromised, don't spar, because you're going to hurt yourself or somebody. I think anytime the emotion is controlling you, you have no business doing practice or training. Just back off, because it's dangerous. That goes with all things. Okay? It's like if you walk by a dog, okay, if there's a dog in the street, and I treat the supernatural like it's a big dog in the neighborhood. I want to know where the big dog lives so I can leave it alone. But oh, your hair, yeah. Yeah. Whew. But the point on this is, I said big dog. I want to know where it is so I can avoid it. If you see a dog and you basically ignore it, and you're aware of it, but you don't engage it, and you take care of your own business, more than 9 times out of 10, it's going to leave you alone. But if you come aggressing up to a dog, the big dog is just growling, you want to go, there's a good chance that there's going to be a confrontation. And I don't engage in unnecessary confrontations. And then if a confrontation is necessary, I am going to engage in such a way that I am going to maximize my chances of getting what I consider a favorable outcome. Not a heroic outcome, usually. Not a publicizable, you look cool outcome, because I'm not worried about looking cool. At the end of the day, I want to go to bed with the same number of holes in me I started out with. No more, no less. I want to not have legal ramifications, And the mentality, I've talked about this. I've talked people out of robbing me before. Because one, usually I don't have enough to be worth robbing, and the effort isn't there. And two, I'd rather help somebody. Half the time, I'd rather just give it to you than have you toy with me. But that carries over to animals, and it carries over to the supernatural that people get all spooky about. Works by a very similar set of rules, and most of it is, don't start stuff. So, yeah. Well, John, I've been. I think I retired from that stuff before you did. Exactly, the Crikey, here's a demon. One of the most. All right, folks, and I've actually dropped this. Crikey, that there. We're walking in this house, and it's getting hot in here, and I'm smelling sulfur. We might have ourselves one of the unholy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna provoke and see what happens. Crikey, it's eating my face. Hi guys, update. It's 3 weeks later, it followed me home. Now every time I go take a shower, it bleeds. You know? Yeah, you don't start nothing, won't be nothing. Cindy, wow, it is scary how much you are speaking Cornic language and preaching to the choir. And the Lord said, just leave it alone, brothers and sisters. Now, see, there is stuff, and you shouldn't mess with it. And if you're trying to get something from them, you're looking for an easier way. And that's a bad idea because the interest is a. And I don't even imply swearing often on my channel. No, again, Dark Moon. A lot of folks made mistakes. And it looks like you've learned from. I've known a lot of people who were edgelords, and a few I've been able to help, a few I haven't been able to help. And that's between them and their situation. If you had to learn the hard way, make sure you at least learned it, and you'll be fine. When I say things like this, I'm not bashing the folks who went through it because I made mistakes. I'm not, oh, how do I put this? When I talk this way, I'm talking out of love and experience, not out of judgment. I mean, I will tell you, if you play stupid games, you will get stupid prizes. And the people who have done it, all you have to do is remember that you did it. And when a game looks like it's going to be stupid, realize the prize is going to be stupid too and walk away. It isn't worth it. And what happens is every year, building up from about now, people get stupid. Because being scared, it can be fun, it's thrilling, and there's curiosity, and I get all that. But don't. And the worst thing you could do in any situation is decide, yeah, John. Uh, I hope you know what, John. You're bringing stuff up, and I'm gonna stop right here. I hope you've learned from that because you used to travel. You travel in some circles with people who don't learn from that, and they make the same mistakes, and they keep poking stuff. And sometimes, man, it's karma's job that they have to learn to deal with the ramifications. So on that one, you need to if you can't stop them, you don't necessarily have to save them either. Sorry. It's a hard thing to not be try to be the superhero, to know your limitations. I'm hoping that over the years, yeah, it's funny. You ask people who are tied to an element and they will tell you stories about that element. No, really. John's a firefighter. Well, was a firefighter. It's one of those firefighters. You wait long enough, and any of them who've been in that enough have seen some stuff. And John's seen some stuff. You talk to sailors sometime. They'll tell you stuff about the water. They'll tell you stuff you wouldn't believe because they spent time in it. The miners, old mining families. They got rules. They got stories. They know about some things. Finding the folks who know about the air stuff is a little different. Those folks usually are, and you get some farmer types, you get some pilots, of course, but it's a different thing because air is the least assigned to us, and it's very, very, yeah, yeah. Divers know water, and divers will tell you stuff that's in it and stuff that's. I don't do dark water for reasons, but yeah, so you don't mess with it. Now, I love DMing. I love telling stories about grand monsters and horrors and things, but I try to subtly teach a lesson of applied caution Because if you're going to be stupid, you have to feel pain. And if you're going to be ignorant, you're going to die. That's life. And I try to front that through whenever I run a game. Because I try not to kill my players off for bad rolls or, just bad luck kind of things. But if they're going to be really like seek the dumb, I'll let them find the dumb. Because maybe that'll slow them down in real life. And see, that's where it all starts coming together because I teach fencing to teach to, on one end, empower. Let's say, it's a lot. Fencing's a lot like my knife. On one end, it empowers and it allows positive change, but on the other, it teaches caution and control. See what I'm saying? I mean, this little piece of metal that hangs around my neck, this cuts through all sorts of things. I literally reshape matter to my will every time I wield this. And from that perspective, something we would take totally for granted. I'm literally reshaping portions of the world to fit my will and bidding to the best of my ability. That may be carving something or making a tool or slicing meat. It doesn't matter. Or opening a package that doesn't want to. The package was defying my hand strength, so I use a knife. But at the same time, I've cut myself with the knife. I've lost control. And that's why the jimping, the gimping, depending on how, is here. It reminds you, it helps keep your hand in place. This is not how you fight with a knife. If you fight with a knife or a weapon, you want positive locked grip most of the time. Some of the fencing stuff is different, but if we're talking a knife, you want strength, power, lockdown. But for angled control, I have to sacrifice a little bit of my strength to have it for guidance. And that's what this is about right here. That perspective applies to a great many things in life. Understanding this knife can only cut about an inch and a half, inch and 3/4, It has at maximum that much area of control. You hear that? We have to know our limitations. This knife is limited in what it can do. Now, I've chosen it because it's very grippy. This knife likes to stay put. It fits my hand because I've met something that fits me. It's not too heavy for me to control. You look at this. This locks in. I could do different things with this than I can with that. But guys, due to the nature of wormwood, I cannot condone its application for anything other than looking like a pretty type of wood. I have actually wormwood staff, but no, sort of wormwood. It's complicated, but yeah, walking stick. It's complicated. Uh, let's keep potionry and chemical talks off the public list. Take it private, guys. Just that way people don't get confused. I don't want any trouble for anyone. Gotcha? Cool. Now, um, yes, John, and it's probably best not to talk about that. I'm going to assume that commentary has been dropped off, hit before, and there's some lag. Uh, Yeah, because it's about avoiding trouble and understanding your thing. So I took up learning to sword fight to gain, yes, confidence, but control. Because, I don't ever want to be wildly swinging. Emotions that are uncontrolled get you in trouble. Okay? And it doesn't matter which one. There are times for moments of great passion, art, creation, necessary destruction. I love splitting wood, but I got to control that axe. That splitting maul has to be in control or it can kill me or someone else. All right? That's the same way with things that go boink. And the best thing you can do with things that go boink, the metaphysical stuff, is treat it like a wild animal. Respect that it has territory. And if it doesn't, if it intersects your life, you might acknowledge it. Go, wow, there's a thing there. Okay. And keep walking. Oh, absolutely. There's a gentleman. His name is Clint. I lost his last name, and I always do. He runs Thunder Ranch. He's a Vietnam veteran, an accomplished gunman. Okay, he has taken the level of practical firearms to an art. And what he says is, if you hold up a match and you put it towards somebody's hand or face, they'll back it away because they know what it's like to be burnt. If you hold up a knife and do the same thing, they'll back away because they understand what it means to be cut. If you hold up a gun, they'll mess around because the vast majority of people have never been shot. And if they were, it would be the world's safest class because once you understand what that does. Now, I have not been shot successfully. I've been shot at, and I have, because I've associated with veterans, and as a small child, I've put my finger in very doubting Thomas in the dimpled scars of combat veterans who've been shot and had white phosphorus. And I respect it. Approach any system, any form of power, anything that has the ability to change your surroundings or your situation with respect. Like, you don't go plugging random things into a wall outlet to see what'll happen, you know? Because most of the time, what happens is bad. You don't go eating random berries off the trees to see what will happen. Because, yeah, you might get lucky, but when you get unlucky, you get real dead. You have to respect things that can affect you. Your emotions affect you. So respect and control them before you attempt to respect and control anything else. Now, this is not, like I said, I am retired. And you know what? That's why I want people to have the option to have free training. That's why I talk about it. And I put okay, John. But that's why I talk about it and I put the message out there, because the people who swing wildly and don't have training are not only are they a danger to themselves in that they can hurt themselves, they can't defend themselves, and they can hurt other people needlessly. That's what it's about, folks. I want to keep people safe. I want them to be able to know that they have the power to affect the world, and I teach that through swordplay. If it keeps them safe, good. But if it gets them thinking, controlling their situation, not letting their situation control them, being aware of what's going on around you. That's important. And knowing your limitations. Okay? Many people I know, some on this list, have long, very grandiose histories of messing with things, and they are authorities. I am not. I've encountered things and I have survived them. So it may shock you because I do believe in saying I don't know, and sometimes I don't wanna. Uh, I acquire knowledge that is enough to meet my needs in many fields. Because for me, generalization is a survival trait. So that's what I do. But the best way, oh, what do we got? I took many shots to the head on my first day because they couldn't be bothered to learn more than watching anime and mimicking what they see. That's the thing, guys. You know one of the other reasons I record my sparring sessions, and I have some people who really get annoyed about it. I don't want to be recorded. I look fat, or I don't like how I look, or I'm not doing good. That's why you record, so you see the reality. I want people, when they see us sparring, there's no wire foo, okay? There's no dramatic, like, we're not doing this to be freaking cool. It's not choreographed. It's how our bodies work in tandem with training devices. And that truth needs to be out there because the fictional power creep has gotten so out of hand where people don't understand what being really good at something looks like in reality and what it takes to do it. And that's the thing. That is exactly the thing. When you find somebody with actual training, optimally the most fun you will ever have is sparring and training with someone who's around your general level. Okay? The most fun isn't when you're new and you're learning. You think it is. You're like, this is the coolest thing ever. And Sensei Swordmaster so and so is showing me these, and this is great, and I'm dying, but I don't care. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's great. And it can be addictive. But there is a point where when you understand enough that even your bouts, your training bouts are conversations. I'm gonna do this. Oh, you're gonna do that. Okay. I'm gonna try to do this. That did not work. Yeah, I can tell you why that didn't work. Cool, let's talk about it. Or let's hit the video, sit down and watch the bout. What worked for you? What worked for me? That's important. Um, watching videos is good, but don't watch scripted videos and expect it to work that way. Actual interactions, especially guys, cross style interactions are different. Yes, exactly, Cindy. See, one thing I hated about the SCA, and I hate are the people who would kill somebody the same way, especially a student. I'm and they would just kill them the same way because you'll eventually learn it. Here's the thing, folks. Some people have literal physical blind spots they don't know are there. Some people are making a mistake. They don't know. If I give people 3 consecutive shots, if I can hit somebody, wham, bam, bam, they're dead. The bout is stopping and I'm going through. I am killing you. This is how I'm doing it. Let's figure out what you can change to make sure I can't do that. Because my goal when I am sparring in the Historical Fencing Guild, okay, when I'm out there sparring and I'm really working with somebody, is not to be, I'm the best there ever was. You know what I mean? That's not my goal. It's to help the other person understand themselves better. It's find your fight, not my fight. And I will, you know what? I wanted to talk about this earlier in the week, and I've had a very, very active week. So you have to bear with me. But You can try. Whew. Um, I'm going to give you a different aspect. What do I know about myself that I do wrong? Have you ever heard somebody on YouTube who does an educational thing stop and go, I do this wrong? Let's talk about that. Would that be fun? I think so, because I watch the videos. And unlike some people, I'm not trying to aggrandize myself. I'm trying to understand what I'm doing to get better, just like I want you to. So the only way it would be fair for me to say go through this process is if I'm going through it. I make mistakes. I have some training scars. One training scar is this block because I was taught by a person when I first started fencing. Okay, and I'm just going to park this here. Actually, no, I want my parry dagger. Here it is. It's behind things. Okay. Offhand, you should parry out. I tell you, parry out, parry out, parry out. From the side, parry out. Right? Real simple. Right? Parry out, parry out. Okay. And there's a great story going on in comments, but I want to get through this. I'll do this. I will do this odd, hard karate block because my first instructor, I will say my first sword master, because he wasn't, taught it into me. He taught it into me to make sure that my offside usually my outside high, which is where his favorite shot would come in, had a weakness. It was dishonorable to do so. And he capitalized on it for years till I saw a video and I realized what I was doing. It still occasionally happens. I am short and I'm short armed, so occasionally I fight overextended. I have my weapons way too far out, leaves my arm vulnerable and limits what I can do. But I'm trying to gain that space for protection. Yes, and that's what got me, Cindy. That's what got me uh into what I do. Is I was assigned to train the rejects, as he put it, the people who weren't worth his time. They need somebody to work with him, and I worked with them. And he taught everybody something wrong. Every single person he taught something that would debilitate their training and be a training scar that would last their career, so that later in tourney, when he faced them, he could beat them. And it sickens me to my core to think about it, but I did witness this, and at the time I didn't realize what was going on, because I default to being a very nice guy when I can. Yeah, I he didn't do it to the students he liked. Uh, he didn't do it to the students he liked or the ones he thought were going over, only the ones he didn't like. And he was very angry with me because I trained that I would catch what was wrong and train them around that. Or I would adapt their style to their limitations. Say, well, I can't do that. Okay, then we won't do that. We'll do something else. Well, I can't lunge. Then don't lunge. Well, fencing is all about lunges. That style is. Let's look at this master or this system. Or let's just go outside of fencing and look at Tai Chi. Yeah. So that's, but here's the thing, you can't catch it yourself. My other great weakness is one of my strengths. Yeah, John mentioned it after I knew about it because he would catch it reflexively. But there was a period of time before I got running with the proper group where I was kept insulated by my instructor, and they did their level best to make things difficult. Uh, at that time, you were still very, very focused on heavy fighting. I mean, this is back when Amanda was heavy fighting, John. But yeah, and you've caught it when it comes back. And most of the time, I have now trained out. But one of my other things is I can imitate somebody I've fought between 60 and 80%. You have to make adjustments for my physicality and stuff. But I can imitate their fighting style, most of their strikes, give you a good feel of how to fight against somebody. More so as I get back in shape. The problem is it is really hard for me not to mirror match my opponent. So if my opponent is using a very loose flippy style, I will default to use the same or similar loose flippy style. And I shouldn't. I should fall back to my style. And now when I am slightly annoyed, and I hate to put it that way, my world crystallizes and I fight with a little more purpose and I fight much better. And the farther down that path, the better I am. However, oh yes, absolutely. I am literally a combat chameleon, which is funny when one of my opponents was a very busty redhead at the time. Busty gravity has done its damage, but redheaded young lady who would bounce and do different things, and the fact that I could mimic the body language too, because I'd watch, and I've tried. It's hard, but I've been trying to use the videos as a means to teach people to do that, at least to themselves. So what you end up doing what I need to do is get that focus, but it's not as fun for me because the more focused I am, the more real it feels. And this is a good point. We have to divert. There are roughly three levels, and there are more, but there are three big levels of sparring. Okay? You have, and I'm going to tell you, if you're not fighting for your life, you're sparring. Understand that. If you are not actively trying to harm another to prevent harm to you, you're sparring. And that's good, but understand that. But awesome, yeah. Again, it's now that I'm older and I'm more injured, it's harder, but that's how I was. We're playing around. Pop, 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 pop. Not worried about it, not thinking about it. Bam, 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 bam. Maybe we're learning, so it's in slow motion, you know? And that's a good one. You're slow motion sparring so that you are resisting. Resistance training is crucial. If you are training any martial art and they are not actively opposing you when you are using a technique, you are not learning right and you're being fed a bunch of lies. Because there are so many martial arts who, well, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to resist. So the move didn't work. If the move doesn't work when your opponent is resisting, the move doesn't work. Hard stop. But okay, so you're slow training how I'm working where there's blade contact, but maybe we're talking it through. Then you have fun fighting. We're screwing around patty cake, pop, 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 pop. This is great fun. You hear the ting ting of steel, or you're bumping and you're talking, and it's good. And then you have tournament style fighting. So you have training, you have fun sparring, and you have tournament. And tournament fighting, if you're doing it, that's where it becomes a sport. That's where you're clearing your mind and all you're thinking about is the bout. And it's really therapeutic for somebody who like me who lives so much between my ears. There's so much going on up here all the time. Because if I have a good bout, I'm not thinking, I am being. And when you train properly, you're not thinking, I need to parry that flow. You're your front brain is turned off and your back brain is just following whatever motion your body knows. Now, see, there is a variant form, and see, I didn't like tournament because it felt serious, and I didn't feel flexible enough to be good. I was actually more effective melee fighting, because melee fighting is one, the structure is not there. Very rarely I have to engage this person at this distance this long. No, I get to adapt the battlefield, and I am a I am a defensive but dynamic fighter. That means, because I know aggressive but kind of plain fighters, people, they're going to do very linear. Think of a very fast foil fencer. They may be very aggressive, but they're not dynamic. They're only coming from very limited angles. Okay, so they're simplistic maybe in motion, but uh when you're there, I'm tracking things, and it's enough that my brain, half my brain is running in commander mode, where it's like, if I can get this person here and that person there, we can deal with this. So the tactical is being overlaid while I have an opponent and I'm analyzing. Bing, okay, they're faster, stronger. Okay, they're stronger but not faster than me, or they're faster but they don't seem as strong as me, or they're faster, stronger, and just better. I need to figure out a way to gain a situational advantage, either by tripping them up across another fight, or gaining distance, or putting them in a position to be engaged by somebody else. You know, that's where my mind starts to come alive and all the layers balance out. I love melee fighting. But then there's survival fighting. And I know the vast majority of people have never fought, period, at least as an adult or as a near adult, teenage years. And when they did, very few of them fought with dealing with individuals with actual murderous intent. The intent might be, I'm going to bully you and beat you up a bit and then we're done. It's a different item, it's a different spirit. Dealing with actual intended harm is very clarifying. It feels very, very simple in that they're going to do everything in their power to hurt me. I have to decide my response. Very little else matters other than tactical awareness, being, is the floor even? Are there exits, etc.? Situational awareness, switching mode from situational to tactical awareness. Do they have allies? Do I have allies? Do I have neutral support? So somebody tries to jump me, and they're really trying to jump me. They're throwing punches, whatever, and they mean it. And that's reading body language, maybe verbally, like, I'm going to kill you. Okay, we know this is on. Do they have a bunch of friends backing them up? That is a tactic. Do I have friends who would intercede on my behalf and, help? That would be an advantage. Are there neutral entities? I don't count a cop necessarily as a advantage, because I'm not guaranteed they're going to side with me. They'll break up the fight, sure, but it might bounce back on me. It's funny. Blighted Thesis said something. Feel it's like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't focus on the finger, you'll miss all that heavenly glory. I was on a field trip and I was hanging out in Chicago. We were having lunch with the Dalai Lama's brother. And he was talking. He was giving a speech on, I think, Buddhism, or, oh, not Buddhism. Well, you know what I mean. But a theology and philosophy. He said, if you take a dog, if you're with a dog or any animal, and you go, look at the beauty of the October moon. and you point and you go, look at this beauty. The dog will stare at your finger. One of the great tragedies, and one of the things I'm personally trying to combat from my being, and this isn't everything I do, in art, in gaming, in writing, in sword instruction, in some paranormal stuff, in education, I want to shift the gaze because there is a vast movement that I believe is out there to make sure your eye doesn't leave the finger. You know, they don't want, it is not profitable for the engine of economics and social power for people to look beyond the pointing finger and see the beauty of the October moon. Beautiful full moon. Can you see it? And just let your eyes kind of fade in your mind. See that full, deep yellow orange moon shining, casting the night into that matte gray and bathing the world in its light. It gives you perspective. And as soon as you can see the difference between staring at a finger and staring at the moon, your priorities begin to shift, folks. You start to think in things of what has value, what has meaning, and what is my part in it. This is huge. This is deep. And there are no direct answers that I can give you other than saying that the well is very deep and very quenching. And 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 drinking from the well helps. And diving in the well and plumbing it to find the depth that feels comfortable is balming to us. Right now, I'm getting philosophical and I don't care. Right now, we are all very raw. We endured 2020 and it's nearly 2022, and we're still exposed nerves and sinew, irritated muscle fibers. We haven't even healed from it. We haven't even gotten perspective to heal. And the world's trying to remind us, look at the finger. And what's funny is they've stopped pointing at the moon. They'll point at anything else. Point at the shadows. Look how dark it is over there. Look at how hungry you are. Look at this box right here that's going to tell you what we want you to look at and buy. And you lose sight of the moon. And you lose sight of your moon. And it hurts. And it grates. And it's gritty and burning. And it can be infective. It's a contagion because we're raw. This is why we need, as people, as sentient beings, luminous entities carried in flesh, we need to find cool calm right now. Because whatever your political beliefs, whatever your religious beliefs, whatever your moral or sociological or economic beliefs, whatever, the whole world feels like it's become a system to rub us raw and make us vulnerable. Now, Glenn is talking about don't let the fearmongers win. And I have to be careful with that statement because don't let false fear. There's nothing wrong with tactical awareness. And if there's a threat, and there is a threat going on, it needs to be addressed. And if you disagree with me, that's fine, Glenn. I'm comfortable having discussions about anything, including that. But I've spent the last few weeks dealing with dear friends who have died and are dying, people who might die, and their families. You can hear them choking on fluids. And they're, you have to do what you feel is safe. and not endanger others. And that's the balance. And right now, a lot of people have different opinions on that. But I think if we act from a perspective of what I feel the intention of the best of religions is, the idea that we should love each other, treat each other how we want to be treated, be considerate. Like whoever and whatever facet or name you assign to the boss is really is likely to agree with that because it's just core good. And it's the only way we can function. And it takes self-sacrifice. And I try. I fail, but I try. I try to give people the love and support that I would want. I try to give people the respect and patience and distance. And while you have this, we have an opportunity to use it. And I believe, with great power comes responsibility. So, with the power of cognition, the people here, I don't have anyone dumb on my feed. And right now I only have 4 people viewing. That's okay. We are the people who are gifted with physical strength should do the physical strength for the people who don't have it. And show the people who have less physical strength how to improve and use what they have. This is why we have physical therapists. This is why we have gym teachers. Exactly. But those of us with wisdom and intelligence have an obligation to try to share our perspective and analyze it. Make sure we're right. Test it. But share it. And most importantly, compassion needs to be shared and built up. Not as a weakness. It is perceived. There are forces right now telling us, if you want to have the vast money, the power, the glory, the fame, you must cutthroatly, ruthlessly pursue it. And there's nothing wrong with a dedicated doggedness in pursuit. But I find myself asking a question, is that what folks want? And why should we idolize it if it's not what we want? Just as you have to find your fight, the way you spar, the way you handle a sword or a dagger or an axe or whatever weapon speaks to you and is your voice in this physical conversation that we call the Historical Fencing Guild. You need to find your path, both in how you fight. Are you aggressive? Are you passive? Are you defensive? Are you static? That was the word I was looking for, static. Very little movement, very linear. It could be very aggressive, but it's not coming from a lot of angles. Or dynamic. I am defensively dynamic. I'm going to back around all over the place because I don't like to fight unless I think I'm going to win. Is that cowardly? Perhaps, but it's certainly wise. But knowing the emotion and knowing where to stop. Because here's the thing. Glenn post a few things that were more about we sort of had a conversation here while this was going on. Never mistake my kindness for weakness. And Foxy says that's a good one too. I try to be kind, but I can be pushed too far. One of the hardest lessons for me to remember is that kindness and karma, for lack of a better word, it exists, folks, for everyone outward, but equally inward. So there is nothing wrong with helping people find the fire inside them that lights their way. That is a noble and worthwhile pursuit. Again, be it art or writing or creativity or just hard work, there's nothing wrong with that. whatever that makes them and that light that they shine out in the world, and helping them keep it in the storm. But there is a hazard for some of us, and Lord, am I talking about myself, to ignite ourselves to keep everyone else warm. And that is a type of harm, and it's a type of sin, I think. You're sinning against yourself. And England's saying, I tell people I can be pushed in a corner. I can be pushed into a corner or be pushed into anger, but warned not to do both to me something about ripping off arms. Oh, see, and I understand there's nothing wrong with giving a fair, concise, and sometimes graphically described warning, but I think there is a hazard to hyperbole in a statement like that. And I've known a lot of people, I'm going to rip your head from your shoulders. Okay. I'll give you a story. This is a story about one of my dearest friends who is now deceased, Ben Starkey. Ben was a big guy, bigger than John, both in height and wit. And he was a better shot too. And before you say anything, John, he was 1 week from graduating Marine Corps sniper school. He was a better shot than you. Uh, I've seen you both shoot, but devastating. And he was a Goth, huge man. But he had habits, great funny habits. And one of them was he liked to paint miniatures, usually mecha, but fantasy stuff. And when he was painting, it was always fun because his shoulders would roll in. He'd be sitting at a table like a great Pooh Bear. Let me try it. He'd all hunker down, and his hands would be here. He'd all be, trying to dot the I on some kind of figure, all hunched over. And he lived a lot of his life that way, oddly enough, like Richie does. Make big guys who make themselves small to try to fit in the world that they're surrounded by. But this guy goes saying something to him. He goes, I'm gonna kick your. And Ben, I'll never forget, he puts down what he's doing, looks up at him and goes, proceed. And he sits up. Sitting up, Ben was as tall as I was, almost standing up. Okay. He'd be sitting in a booth almost taller than me when I'm standing next to him. Looks at him and goes, what'd you say? I accept your offer. You're going to kick my ass. Proceed. And I'll never forget that because he didn't threaten violence. He didn't have to. The tendency to exaggerate is dangerous because part of it is there are people like me who oh yeah, well that's the difference between bullies and a threat. A true threat, and I don't mean that as the verbal exchange, but as an assessment of the individual, will then do so. They don't bluff. And that's the thing about, you have to understand and respect violence. And to understand and respect violence, you have to understand and respect the thunder before, the thunder that comes before it hits, the warning. So I guess, it's kind of ironic. There's the flash of lightning and then you hear the thunder. But there's a moment of think about it. And that's why I don't, especially the older I've gotten, I don't believe in I'll kill you. If I say I'm going to kill you, one, I'm a man of my word. That means now if I've spoken in anger, I'm obligated to what I have said. If I give an if then statement, folks, it would be very hard for me not to comply with it once it's made. So I encourage subtlety, I encourage tact. But I also encourage assessment, because I have had the pleasure and honor of associating with some truly dangerous. Well, you know what? Let me put it this way: I've associated with dangerous people. I have known dangerous people most of my life, but I've also associated with deadly people. And when we get into the reality of that overlaps with the training that we do, where this stops being fun and starts being about how one could end somebody else's life literally with something sharp about this long. Exactly, John. And see, you by that quote, you've referenced a duel to the death. Now, the literal minded person might go, well, he's a big guy and he just said he wants to kill me, shoot you in the throat. And that's the problem. Threat assessment is so big. That's why when I talk to new people, especially when you start feeling your Odie, I'm going to kick your ass in the field. Don't say that. Even if you believe it, even if you know in your core, oh, I'm going to just dispatch this dude. Leave yourself wiggle room so that if you fail, you haven't turned yourself into a liar. And leave yourself out. Uh, I think about the times where violence has engaged and there has been dialogue. It's few. Usually violence happens when dialogue fails. And I do see that. I see actual violence as an intense failure. You know, as someone who was a medical professional, I was a direct support professional with behavioral, mentally and physically handicapped people. Anytime I couldn't talk the situation down or diffuse it, I counted as a failure. You know, the joke being a failure to communicate. But be careful what you say, what you will into existence. And see, I'm going to come at you with an axe. Okay. Um, there was a point I was instructing in a very, very, at the time, not the nicest place. And three very, very large students came in. And I was still in pretty bad shape back then. Not as bad as I got recently, but I wasn't exactly a spring chicken bouncing around. I was in a computer lab. I'm sorry, chemistry lab. I'm sitting there and the door flies open. They're mad because they got in trouble. And they said, we're going to kick your ass. What are you going to do about it? And I looked at them. I said, you see that pen over there? And I looked at the ballpoint pen. What's next to me? I said, the first one who strikes me, I'm going to put that in their eye. I may go to jail. Doesn't matter, but you will be maimed for the rest of your life. No matter what happens, none of you are trained enough or fast enough to prevent me, if you get within striking distance and hit me, from doing that. The next one who comes is going over my shoulder out the window behind me, and I'm thinking I'm going to cold cock the third with the Bunsen burner stand. And they all froze. You can't say that. I'm like, I'm just giving you a clear intention of what, the definition of what's going to happen, boys. I can't fight you fair. So if you feel the need to try to stomp on me for whatever reason, there's three of you. You're very large. I am at the time, much lighter than I am, small, kind of gimpy fella. Can't move far. I can't run away from you. And even if I ask for help, there's very little means of help getting here before you do anything. So what you have to do is ask, is this sudden escalation what you want? Or do you just want to kind of laugh and walk out of the room and this never happened? He took one step forward and my right hand went flat and laid over the pen. It was a blue Bic ballpoint pen. And I'm looking at this guy. And it got real quiet as things do. He said, oh, Miss T, we're just around. We're playing. Like, I know you're playing. You wouldn't. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, you wouldn't have done that stuff. Yes, yes, I would. But I'm glad I didn't have to. Why don't you guys go back to wherever you're supposed to be? And it stopped some of the problems I was having. Uh, I'm not proud of it per se, largely because I made a statement of intent, and I've thought about that a lot. Not that I would do it because I said I would, so I'm honor bound too, but that I would feel terrible about having had to do it. So don't make idle threats, folks, because, you know, when you've engaged in violence out of necessity, and I talk about that. Violence is a real thing. Uh, when you've engaged in violence out of necessity, it affects you, and uh, there are better things. And see, that's why the necessity to puff up and say, "I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that," they're going to bark like dogs. Come on, that's teenage bullshit stuff. Okay, that's testosterone poisoning at its finest. That's young bucks rocking around yelling at each other. And those of us, especially those of us who've earned our gray hair, we know better. And not only do we know better, we should know better, and we should teach better. That's why I started training in CPI. Ways to defend myself without without injuring anybody. There's probably pain involved, and I'm okay with pain. Pain is a wonderful instructional tool, but I don't want to do harm, and there's a difference to that. And that's why I've avoided certain things and I left. I didn't teach that area anymore. I don't want to hurt anyone. I have the capacity to do so if necessary. And I've trained that, but I have always sought to train from a perspective of control. And I think that's what's so important, guys. I want you to have fun. I want you to have a blast being the hero of your own story. Don't be an NPC, guys. You don't have to be an NPC. You don't have to live a fixed life, laugh at the things with the laugh tracks, eat the food you're told to eat, wear the things you're told to wear, that whole thing. No. Find your story and live it, but take responsibility for the light lines and the dark lines. Uh, And that's where it goes. John says, is overstressing joint harm? If you mean you're applying a therapeutic hold inappropriately and doing damage to your uh, patient slash client slash subject, yeah. If it's a mistake, you apologize and try not to do it. Now, if that's what it takes to keep them from slitting your throat with the knife they stole, that's a different ball game. It's all perspective, and disarming people, if you have to cause lasting injury to keep them from killing you or themselves or other people, that's different. But I think you also understand that, John. Uh, yeah, and that's true. Live life, don't let life live you. But at the same time, and this is the thing, a lot snowflakes, uh, a lot of people talk about, oh, I'm not offended. Guys, I'm about accountability. Now, forgiveness is necessary and something I seek because I want it, so I have to give it. That's the rule. But there also has to first come accountability. I have to rebuke when I see something wrong. I have to say, that's not right. And sometimes, and I'm going to be honest, when I see grown men puffing up at guys half their age because they're feeling macho, it's kind of sad, folks. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but what do you got to prove? It's like I walk away from stuff and people will I'll have arguments or whatever, and people will say, "Oh, you're this slur or this racial slur or this or sexual orientation, or you're this or you're that. One, half of that stuff isn't even an insult. It just does not apply to me. The other half, I have tension. Like, what do I have to prove? What do I gain? Notoriety? Man, I want to be the nice guy who helps people feel good. The silly guy in the Hawaiian shirt who makes people smile. That's great. I don't want to be, oh, he kicked so and so's ass. Oh, no, because that means people are scared of me. And I genuinely feel bad that there are circles in this world where people are still scared of me for things that were done out of necessity. That's not good. I repent for that. I feel bad and I apologize. I've tried to make right what I could. What I couldn't, I just learned from. Rise above, guys. And it doesn't matter. If you're on the field and you screw up, you hit somebody too hard, it is better to, I've read Machiavelli, a fascinating read. If you want to know what the bad guys are thinking, read Machiavelli's The Prince. Is it better to be loved or feared? And congratulations to Jonathan. I hope he feels better. Good job becoming a master mason. Lay those bricks. And I know that's not what you mean, but I also have to say it because, I am known in certain circles, but I am not a member of certain circles. I'm just the guy they call when nobody else can. No, is it better to be loved or feared? I think fear is a tragic necessity sometimes. I would rather be loved. At at worst, I'd rather be a neutral left alone entity, It's like I keep the very small circles. I don't try to impose on other people's territory or business. And the best thing in the world, I think, is if you can't have the respect, you know, uh, to be left alone. That's funny, John. Uh, but yeah, I would always prefer to be loved. It's a rare and beautiful thing, and it means I'm taken advantage of. But I've been feared, and I don't like that. I'm too empathic to enjoy something like that, and I'm not egotistical enough. That's why, if I can't help you and you can't help me and we don't get along, let's just let me be. And that's my approach. And that goes over everything else. I don't walk into other people's practices and tell them they're doing it wrong. I've gone to ones where I've been invited. I'm like, let me show you how I do it. If you like it, cool. If not, no harm, no foul, because I don't feel the need to aggrandize, you know? Just tell the story. If they like it, if they learn from it, cool. If they don't, that's their choice. Maybe you'll learn something from it. But a lot of, I think, the universe is simple. It goes back to that rule, treating others like you want to be treated. And vast majority of time, if it's drama, I want to be left alone. So I don't, you know? And if I am meddling, it's because I think somebody needs help. And then I'll tell the truth. I read your thing, Glenn. I have to think. I'm a failed pacifist. Very few times in my life have I ever felt heroic, but I've felt downright villainous. and trying to be better. And that's what it's about, guys. At the end of the day, we have to realize we're all on a journey, hopefully, to try to be better. Maybe better skilled, maybe better in a sense of wisdom and emotion. But we must learn to not overly self-flagellate for our failings, but also not aggrandize them either. Take them as they are, learn from them, move past them. I used to get upset in school. I remember it. I remember being upset because I scored poorly on a test or something like that. I felt dumb. Or I failed classes. You know, for me, it felt like a moral failing. And looking back, I remember how it felt, but I don't remember what I failed. You know what I mean? That wasn't the important part. And see, it's not just balance. It's moving forward. It's advancement. Maybe not necessarily in intelligence or physical strength, although all of that, knowledge, strength, capacity, dexterity, we can all work to try to have more of that. But there's also an element of wisdom and humility. And it's hard because so many of the forces we encounter in life don't want to acknowledge our value as people, as entities. In fact, work very hard to oppress and suppress that. There's a lot of downward pressure by, it always feels like there's somebody bigger, badder pushing down. And if we can get to a point where that just stops being relevant, victory conditions are the name of the game, people. I might not win the tourney, but I'll do better than I did, or I beat that guy, or I gave a heck of a fight. They told me what winning was, but that's not what winning was to me. I learned more, or I wasn't dishonorable. You're close, John. John says inner peace through strife towards you is a path that needs to be followed. But the problem is you're seeing this part, but you have to talk about the release on the other side, and that's what people don't want to. Just like in points, you have to let go of your youth and different aspects. You have to let go of the burdens too. And if that means losing something that made you feel good about yourself, then it's worth it because the the, the that's going through it. If you into the storm, the wind never breaks around you. Glenn says they say that knowledge is power. That's not strictly correct. Knowledge is potential power. Applied knowledge is true power. I believe that's called wisdom. That exactly. Shed the negative, even the negative that empowers you. That's the hard thing. If the positive path requires weakness, accept the weakness to gain the peace. I believe that's what I would say, that knowledge can be power when it's applied. That is what wisdom is, having the discernment in how it's used, what knowledge and power is gained, and how it is disseminated. Knowledge is the battery. Applied power, using a firearm metaphor, knowledge is the bullet. Applied knowledge is having it loaded in the gun. Wisdom is understanding how to aim it, when to fire, and most importantly, when not to fire. Okay, I'm glad you're back, Cindy. And yeah, push hands teaches flow. And remember, John, I was doing push hands against a a living ocean. Push the amount of strength I could feel was much like dealing with undertow in Lake Michigan. So you have to understand. Yes, yes, Cindy. Cindy's breaking knowledge is tomatoes fruit. Wisdom: tomatoes don't belong in fruit salad. Philosophy is ketchup a smoothie. Absolutely. Theology: who planted the first tomato? Yeah. Well, folks, we kind of went deep down the rabbit end hole tonight. Um. There are a few things coming down the pipe. I did a substantial order to replace my personal tablet so that I can do the art and set things up that will apply both to the gaming stuff and uh, the coming books, because I want to do some different drawings that may be a little more detailed than just the literally done in paint stick figures that filled the simple sword. So there's some stuff coming on. Uh, I'm still writing some more books, so I'm expecting it to be exciting. Tomorrow, I will be from 10 till 2, save for some wanderings at Fowler Public Library, where you can come out and see me. I'm going to be selling whatever of my books I have on hand. If you're in the area of Fowler, Indiana, because it's the freak out at the Fowler Festival, where there's paranormal, there's assorted. Last time they had it, there were assorted fortune readers and fun folks. And being that I have some ties to the different libraries in the region, I'll be helping out with that and selling some of my stuff there. So if you happen to be in the area and you want to make a in-person chat, it's a good time to come out and see me. Other than that, we're actually almost exactly a half hour over the line. So I hope you guys. I realized this was a bit more philosophical, and we got really deep. And honestly, guys, I want to thank you for that. We plumbed some really neat off-topic waters here, both in the the philosophy of defense. Oh, Glenn, about a buck 99 at Walmart is the difference between catsup and ketchup. Anyway, uh, I like to think that somewhere in Indiana, in Louisiana, there's another spelling of ketchup or whatever that actually spells something. But anyway, we went some neat places, and it was a and like well, I'll talk about my appearance in Fowler. Oh yeah, because I have to be talking all tomorrow. We'll talk about some more weapon stuff. I may just live stream talking about how to make buffers and stuff best I can. We'll see how that goes. And if all goes well, I will get a chance to shoot something else, because I really want to start getting sometime midweek, if not exactly Wednesday, out a scripted and or filmed video. And I want to try to get in that rhythm where Wednesdays have that out. So the Patreon members get it 24 hours later. Everyone else gets that. You know what? I figured you'd know that, John, and I'm not even going to repeat it, because if I repeat the word wrong, I don't want to summon something into my living room. But but guys, thanks. And I hope it was mentally stimulating. I know it was a very challenging discussion, and I brought some of the old gray hairs who know some stuff, and it was good, I think. We'll try to be a bit more on topic next week. I've got some stuff coming because it is fall, and I don't know. There's the pumpkin invasion is coming. Also, I want to remind you guys that the 28th of September is Leafy Moss, the fictional holiday I made up where people send each other interesting ebooks. I might be working on something special just for my viewers and stuff. Depending on what I can pull together, I will let you know. So, you guys be good to each other. Keep your guard up. If you like what I'm doing, please like, share, subscribe. I've had, and if you really want to help, that's why I have a Patreon. The folks who donate money let me afford to buy trainers and gear to tell you, is it worthwhile, is it not? Help me keep the facilities slowly building up so that next year, hopefully, we'll be able to have a lot more practices. And I've got some great stuff. I just have to get through some of my real world stuff. Other than that, I'm going to let you guys go. Look up the Rising Tide Broadcast Network on Facebook. It's a bunch of great creators, including Cindy Kep, who are putting out content. They're showing up on shows. They discuss things, comic books, conspiracies. Let me think. Cigars were discussed for a while. I don't know if the cigar show's been going on. I'm a little out of the loop, but it's really a great time, and the Rising Tide as a group is a bunch of writers and creators who are trying to build each other up and build other people up. So shockingly, I am both involved and proud to be. That's why that commercial's been showing up on my scripted videos. Other than that, guys, be good to each other. Keep your guards up. Please drill. Please train. Please keep me in the loop on how you're doing. And as always, support your local swordmaster.